One Piece. Story was made by Eiichiro Oda. Chapter 5. The Pirate King and the Greatest Swordsman. Luffy's footsteps echoed through the dimly lit corridors of the Marine base, his grip firm on Helmeppo's shirt as he dragged him along. The air was thick with tension, a mix of anticipation and urgency. The walls seemed to close in on them, bearing witness to their chaotic pursuit. "Hurry up and tell me where Zoro's swords are!" Luffy's voice echoed through the desolate halls, his demand dripping with impatience. Helmeppo, his face pale and sweat glistening on his forehead, could barely catch his breath. I'll tell you! Just stop dragging me!" Helmeppo's cry came out in desperate gasps as he struggled to keep up with Luffy's relentless pace. Finally, Luffy slowed down, giving Helmeppo a brief respite. His eyes narrowed, and a touch of annoyance crept into his voice. "Okay, spill it!" Panting heavily, Helmeppo managed to find his voice amidst the exhaustion. "They're inside my room. We already walked past it." Irritation danced across Luffy's face, and without hesitation he swung his fist, connecting with Helmeppo's cheek. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The blow sent Helmeppo stumbling backward, his hand pressed against his throbbing cheek. "That hurts! Don't hit me!" But Luffy's attention was momentarily diverted. As he turned to face the disgruntled captain's son, he found himself confronted by three imposing Marine soldiers, their arms outstretched, their stern faces filled with authority. "Don't move! Raise your hands above your head!" Their command echoed through the corridor, filling the air with a sense of imminent danger. Luffy, however, remained unfazed. "No!" Luffy casually said as his head directed at the Marine soldiers. He weighed his options for a split second. In a blank expression, he grabbed Helmeppo by the shoulders and positioned him as a human shield. The panic in Helmeppo's eyes intensified as Luffy dashed forward, his confidence unshakable. "Go ahead and shoot," Helmeppo declared. The pursuing Marines found themselves caught in a quandary, unable to move for fear of harming the captain's son. Helplessly, they watched as Luffy vanished into the distance with Helmeppo screaming for his life, leaving them in a state of paralyzed frustration. Meanwhile, at the desolate execution site, a chill wind whispered through the air, carrying a sense of impending doom. Koby, his face contorted in agony, stared at his trembling hand. The once vibrant red had given way to a sickly crimson, tainted with the evidence of his impending demise. Tears streamed down his dirt-streaked face as he cried out in despair, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 sorrows. "I've been shot!" Koby's voice cracked with anguish, his words hanging heavy in the air. "Bleeding, I'm gonna die!" Zoro, his gaze piercing the gloom, turned to face Koby, concern etching deep lines on his brow. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. "Run for your life! They're almost here!" Gasping for breath, Koby clutched his wounded shoulder, his panting punctuating the silence that engulfed them. Determination gleamed in his eyes as he shook his head in defiance. "No! I've got to set you free as soon as possible." Zoro reached out. "There is no need to worry about me. As long as I can endure this torment for a month, they'll release me. Hurry and—" "Lee." His hand poised to offer solace, but Koby's urgent words halted his movement. Interrupting him with a sense of urgency, Koby's voice quivered with a mix of fear and conviction. "They will not set you free because they're going to kill you in 3 days!" Zoro spat in disbelief, his voice tinged with anger. "Nonsense! That bastard promised me that if I could survive this for a month, he'd free me!" Adjusting his glasses, Koby's breaths came in ragged bursts as he continued his desperate plea. "He never intended to keep his promise. That's why Luffy punched him on your behalf, because he was toying with you." Zoro's eyes widened. In astonishment, his disbelief swiftly morphed into a profound understanding of the truth. "What did you just say?" Koby's voice grew more urgent, his glasses gleaming in the fading light. "The Marines will never let the two of you off. Please, after I set you free, please help rescue Luffy. I will not force you to become a pirate. However, he's my savior. Luffy is very strong. As long as you two join forces, you all will definitely be able to escape this town. Definitely." Suddenly, the air crackled with tension as a detachment of Marines closed in on Zoro and Koby. Their weapons glinted ominously, poised for the kill. The soldiers' voices rang out, their words laced with deadly intent. "That's enough! The two of you who have betrayed Captain Morgan, die here!" Kobe and Zoro exchanged a stunned glance, their eyes mirroring the disbelief that filled their hearts. In this treacherous moment, survival seemed like an impossible dream, and their fates hung in the balance. "Is this the room?" Luffy questions as he bursts through the door, dragging Helmeppo along with him. It is a vibrant pink room with the walls adorned with stylish decorations, each carefully chosen to enhance the room's aesthetic appeal. A mahogany desk stood at the center, displaying an array of fancy accessories that added an air of elegance to the space. On one side, a full plate of gleaming body armor sat proudly, while an intricately designed helmet and 4 swords hung in perfect symmetry behind it. Against the opposite wall, 3 sleek katanas rested, their blades reflecting the soft glow of sunlight that streamed through a nearby window. Inquisitively, Luffy pointed his finger towards the trio of swords and turned to Helmeppo, seeking answers. "All right, found the katana, but there are 3 katanas here. Which one belongs to Zoro?" he questioned, anticipation filling his voice. Yet his gaze shifted to Helmeppo, only to find his eyes unfocused, his expression dazed. A peculiar sight met Luffy's eyes as foam bubbled at the corner of Helmeppo's mouth. "What's wrong? Did you faint?" Luffy asked, concern lacing his words. Noticing a window nearby, Luffy's curiosity piqued, and he approached it, his hands pressing against the cool glass pane. Suddenly, his eyes widened with surprise as he caught sight of Kobe amidst the chaos outside at the execution site. Captain Axehand Morgan strode onto the execution site, barking orders to surround the area, his voice booming with authority. "Surround the base! Don't let the guy with the straw hat escape!" The Marine soldiers obediently formed a barrier, their weapons at the ready. Captain Morgan's formidable presence emanated from the powerful swing of his axe hand, held high above his head. With an intimidating gaze fixed on his adversaries, he addressed the duo defiantly, his voice laced with disdain. "How interesting. The 3 of you are planning to cause political upheaval? Roronoa Zoro. I've heard of your name from a long time ago, but do not underestimate me. Before my great strength, you're just garbage." The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with the impending threat. The tension grew palpable as Captain Morgan commanded his soldiers, their guns now pointed directly at the duo. "Ready!" Amidst the mounting pressure, Kobe's voice wavered, tears welling up in his eyes. Zoro, aware of the imminent danger that loomed, felt a surge of determination within him. I can't die here. I still have things I need to settle," he silently vowed, his mind racing with memories of his youth and the reasons that had forged him into the person he had become. "Because I made a promise." 9 years ago, the training dojo hummed with anticipation. The air crackled with the energy of young warriors honing their skills. In the center of it all, a young Zoro lay defeated on the ground, his wooden swords scattered around him. Standing triumphant over him was a figure similar in age, but holding only a single wooden sword. The teacher's voice pierced through the dojo, declaring the winner. "Kuina wins! Zoro, who used double swords, loses!" the teacher announced. Kina, with her short dark blue hair and piercing dark eyes, exuded confidence. Her attire, a light pink short-sleeved shirt with an unbuttoned placket, dark maroon shorts, and brown shoes, matched her determination. Gasping for breath, Kina huffed, "How pitiful! A boy and so useless!" But Zoro's fellow students rallied behind him, standing up for their fallen comrade. "Hey, Zoro isn't weak!" they exclaimed. "Yeah, Zoro is the best in our dojo. Even when sparring with adults, he is still very good." Undeterred, Kina walked off mockingly, clutching her practice sword. "Is that so? Still, he is weaker than me," she taunted. "Even if he uses 2 swords, he is still useless. Admit defeat since you've lost." Zoro's frustration boiled within him as he watched her retreat, while the others accused her boldly, condemning her for her arrogance. "You fiend, Kuina! This woman really makes one angry. Just because she's the daughter of the dojo's sensei, she likes to show off." Amidst the brewing tension, another figure entered the conversation. This young man, with black hair tied back in a long ponytail and circular-framed glasses, wore the same black uniform as Zoro and the other students. A smile played on his lips as he addressed Zoro. "You lost again?" he teased. "What a pity, Zoro." "Sensei," the students remarked, now suspicious, confronted their sensei. "Don't lie to us, sensei! You've been secretly training her because she's your daughter, right?" they accused. Apprehensive, the master raised his hand, trying to dispel the rumors. "No, no such thing," he assured them. Unable to contain his frustration any longer, Zoro slammed his wooden swords to the ground and shouted, "Damn! Why can't I defeat her?" But the sensei, ever calm, responded with wisdom. "But Zoro, Kina is older than you," he explained. Yet Zoro's anger only intensified as he bellowed, "Even adults can't beat me! I want to sail and become the world's #1 swordsman! I won't lose to anyone ever again!" Under the cover of a dark blue sky, the full moon hung high, casting an ethereal glow upon the training grounds. Kina's relentless strikes reverberated through the air as she relentlessly assaulted a sturdy wooden post. The young warrior's face glistened with sweat, beads of determination cascading down her brow. In the midst of her solitary practice, the rhythmic footsteps of an approaching figure disrupted the tranquility. Frustration etched upon his face. Zoro, a determined and spirited youth, stood firm before Quina, issuing a bold challenge that resonated through the night. "Quina, duel with me using real katanas!" he boomed, a fire burning in his eyes. "I have brought genuine blades for our clash." Unyielding and ready for the challenge, Quina accepted, her resolve unwavering. They positioned themselves on a flat plain adjacent to the training dojo, a momentary calm prevailing as a gentle breeze whispered through the grassy expanse. Zoro firmly grasped 2 authentic katanas, his stance unwavering. "Let's go," he declared, his voice carrying a hint of both anticipation and determination. On the opposite end, Quina stood resolute, her hands clenching the katana tightly. "Come on," she countered, her voice laced with determination. As the anticipation mounted, both combatants lunged forward, their katanas colliding with resounding ferocity. The clash of their blades reverberated through the night, the sheer force of their duel resonating in the air. In a swift, unforeseen maneuver, Quina caught Zoro off guard, sending his katanas spiraling through the air. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, temporarily defeated. With lightning speed, Quina pinned her katana dangerously close to Zoro's head, securing her victory. A triumphant smile danced upon her lips as she proclaimed, "My 2001st victory!" With his arm shielding his eyes, Zoro lay on the ground, his frustration palpable. "Damn it! I can't believe this!" he cried out in defeat. In a hushed tone, Quina's voice softened. "Actually, the one who should feel upset is me." Silence enveloped the scene as Zoro absorbed her words. Sitting down on the dojo's porch, Quina continued, her tears beginning to flow. "When a girl grows up, she will lose out to guys in physical strength. I'm going to fall you people soon. Don't you always say that? You want to become the world's #1 swordsman? Papa says that girls will never be the world's #1. Zoro watched as Kina's tears fell, his heart heavy with understanding. "It's a good thing you're a guy. I want to be the best in the world, too." She leaned forward, her hands gripping her chest. "My body has started to develop. If only I were a guy." Interrupting her heartfelt speech, Zoro's voice cut through the air. "You're telling me all this crap after you beat me? That's unfair. To become like you is my ambition." Kina's gaze shifted toward him, her eyes filled with compassion. Zoro's frustration spilled out as he shouted, "Does this mean that if I beat you one day, it is not because of my strength? Doesn't this make me, who has been training extremely hard to beat you, look like an idiot?" With both swords raised high, Zoro boldly declared, "Let's make a promise. One of us will become the world's greatest swordsman. Let's see who can reach that goal first." Brushing away her tears with determination, Quina happily remarked, "Stupid. You are a person who lost to me." Clasping each other's hands tightly, they made a solemn agreement to strive towards becoming the greatest swordsman in the world. "I promise you." The following morning, a piercing cry echoed through the corridors of the dojo, shattering the serenity. Zoro's world crumbled as the devastating news reached his ears. "Oh no! Zoro, something terrible has happened. Quina, she fell down the stairs and died!" Zoro's face contorted with grief, his spirit shaken to the core. In that moment, An intense silence filled the air as he grappled with his emotions. He cast his eyes upon the lifeless figure of Quina, her face concealed by a white cloth, her once vibrant spirit forever stilled. Unleashing a torrent of anger and sadness, Zoro's voice reverberated through the dojo. "You bastard! Both of us made a promise last night, and now you're running away?" One of his masters, a sage and composed presence, intervened with a gentle tone. "Zoro, please don't be like this. Humans are really fragile beings, Zoro." Kneeling before his sensei, Quina's father, head bowed in mourning, Zoro made a desperate plea. "Sensei, please gift me with her sword." The master met his gaze, his eyes filled with sorrowful understanding. Succumbing to Zoro's impassioned request, he agreed to bestow Quina's sword upon him. With tears streaming down his face, Zoro clutched Quina's white katana with both hands, his voice resolute. "I will be even more greater. I will become the world's #1 swordsman, so famous that even heaven will hear of my great name." Back in the present, Zoro clung desperately to life, his mind racing with determination. "I made a promise. I cannot die here." His grip tightened around the last threads of hope as the weight of impending doom bore down on him. The Marines, resolute in their duty, trained their sights on Zoro and Kobe, their fingers twitching on the triggers. The tension in the air was palpable as silence settled over the scene, broken only by the sound of hearts pounding and breaths held in anticipation. Meanwhile, Luffy, with unwavering resolve, braced himself at the edge of the window. His eyes glimmered with determination as he tightly clenched the window's edge, preparing to launch himself into action while stretching his body back as hard as he can. "Gomu, Gomu, no!" he declared. In one swift motion, Luffy propelled himself forward, shattering the glass window with an explosive force. "Rocket!" he bellowed, soaring through the sky with unparalleled audacity. His body became a projectile hurtling towards the heart of the danger. Captain Morgan, a formidable figure with a jaw like steel, barked his command to the Marine soldiers under his command. "Fire!" The air filled with the deafening roar of rifles as a barrage of bullets surged towards the oncoming threat. Luffy, propelled by his unwavering spirit, dashed straight towards the execution site. In a flash, he landed in front of Zoro and Kobe, positioning himself as a shield against the onslaught of bullets. Each projectile tore through his body, elasticizing his flesh, yet he stood firm. Shock and disbelief gripped the scene as the onlookers watched the bullets find their mark, only to be repelled as if by an unseen force. The metallic rain ricocheted harmlessly off Luffy's unyielding form, leaving him unscathed as everyone concentrated their sights on the straw-hatted boy. With both arms raised triumphantly, Luffy shouted with unwavering confidence, his voice echoing through the stunned crowd. "It's no use!" The words hung in the air, defying all logic and expectation. Those witnessing the spectacle could only watch in utter surprise. Having endured the onslaught, Luffy let out a hearty laugh, defying the pain that coursed through his veins. Zoro, his voice laced with incredulity, challenged the extraordinary being before him. "What kind of human are you?" he demanded, struggling to comprehend the impossible. Meanwhile, Kobe, weakened and incapacitated, fell to the ground, foam spilling from his mouth. His eyes fixated on the extraordinary scene unfolding before him, disbelief mingling with awe. Luffy cast a smug smirk over his shoulder, meeting Zoro's gaze. "I am the one who will become the Pirate King." His words carried the weight of unyielding determination, a declaration that resonated with both defiance and ambition. In an unexpected twist, Luffy revealed 3 swords he had discovered in Helmeppo's room. He presented them to Zoro, an offering to solidify their newfound bond. "Look, which one is your treasured katana?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and camaraderie. "I couldn't figure it out, so I brought all 3 of them." Zoro, still bound to the post, responded with a distant gaze, his eyes hollow. "All 3 belong to me because I use 3 katanas," he stated. As the weight of their decision settled upon them, the entry point at the execution site closed, sealing their fate. A legion of Marine soldiers surrounded the intruders, their collective presence overwhelming and inescapable. Undeterred by their predicament, Luffy continued his conversation with Zoro, his voice carrying a mix of warning and camaraderie. Resisting the Marines here together with me will make you an outlaw. Or maybe you want to die here, he questioned, his words dripping with the gravity of their circumstances. Zoro, in a moment of realization, spoke with resignation and determination. Are you the offspring of the devil? Forget it. Rather than just dying here, why don't I accede to your request and become a pirate, he proclaimed, choosing a path fraught with danger over certain death.